everyone, and welcome to Humans of Moving, a Supermove Original Series. Super excited today to have the amazing Ed Katz join us. Obviously, office moving extraordinaire and legend to many of us here. So welcome aboard, Ed Katz. How are you doing today?
How am I going to follow that introduction? What a letdown this is going to be for our listeners.
I'm just really excited you could to make the time to connect with me today and hopefully share some of your amazing knowledge and just have a lot of fun today and provide our listeners with some nuggets they can take away, and also to get to know the Ed Katz a little bit more than the Ed Katz that they may know. So before we go, I just want to kind of let everybody know that how I actually got to meet you was I took your training course, which was amazing. It was definitely challenging. So I still am IOMI certified. And I think that was back in what, Ed? I think it was like 2020 or 2021, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
And if you don't know, when you finish Ed's course, there's a little snippet about the David and Goliath piece where Ed will send you a rock or a stone, as he will call it. But how I got connected with Ed was it was rather funny. Everybody in the office got their packages and they all had these stones. And guess who was left without a stone? It was me. So I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to call this guy up because I made it through the training. I am Ed Katz, IOMI certified, and he didn't send me my stone. And I will say, Ed, I called you up literally the same day. And I think I busted on you a little bit, but it was at that point I honestly truly knew and felt how good of a person you were and really how authentic you were. I know we shared some laughs and things like that, but just again, how true and authentic you were was just, it was such a great conversation. And literally a few days later, I had my rock with a handwritten note from you.
Well, in my defense, the rock, you got the envelope and you got the letter. There was just no rock in it. Your mail delivery person stole the rock. And in yours that I sent, we actually had diamonds embedded in it. That's the one that went missing. Then the second one I sent was just a black shiny river stone. That's all.
Rock. You are right. I forgot about that. There was a little hole in the envelope. So the post person definitely stole my rock filled with diamonds. I'll have to get back with you on that one. So I got to ask you, Ed. I mean, it's, you've been around doing this a long time. You've been in the moving game, in the office furniture moving game as well, along with creating the whole IOMI. And, it's amazing. But what are some of the drivers that, continue to make you do what you do? Because it is amazing, right? So when most people would just retire and say, I'm done doing this, you are still fresh as a spring chicken. You're traveling all over the place, speaking engagements, conferences, and you're even taking the time to do a podcast with somebody like me. So like, what's keeping you rolling, Ed? I love this.
You're humbling me. It's like, how do I follow an introduction or a question like that? You're the one, I'm in awe that you invited me on your podcast. But platitudes aside, when you get to be my age, and I just turned 37 last week, and if you believe that, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. But anyhow, if you don't have purpose in life, then there's no reason to exist. I mean, I go to this gym every day. The word endorphin, I've never experienced in my life. I hate to exercise. I have a bad attitude. I'm like the energy bunny that you pulled the plug out of the energy bunny. When I walk through the glass doors to get in there, I lose all my energy. I can't wait to get the hell out of there. I don't like exercise. You get it? But it's an investment. It's an investment in quality of life. That's the dividend you get. But other than going to the gym, what am I going to do every day? What am I going to do? Drink? Well, I mean, I would never drink. I mean, come on.
Hey, I think this deserves a special. Not only did I got you on the show here, but raise. Ed, I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to raise with you, and I would assume that's a nice little red that you have there. So, cheers to you. Appreciate you coming on.
So I have an excuse. I'm a former owner of a moving company, more than 3,000 employees over 24 years. I used to thank God they all didn't bring their personal problems to work on the same day. You get it?
Oh man, I can already say I can't even imagine where this is going to go today. This is going to be amazing. My gosh, what was You're gonna get me laughing here. This is gonna be a tough one, but no, I appreciate the answer to that one. But Ed, you're also always saying that the market is dynamic and forever changing, which I can agree 100%. Right, 13 years in the moving industry before I switched over to the dark side of the software, as they say. Every year changed for me. Every year was a bit trickier, a little bit different, and some years we had to be hunters, other years we had to be more organized gatherers. And some years I feel like we didn't know what the hell we were doing at some point. So, what changes do you see coming, and what are some opportunities that you see out there for current movers?
Well, I ask myself this, if I were a mover today, what would it be like? And I thank God I'm not a mover today because I don't know how you manage employees with the way the government and our culture has changed. That aside, we need revenue. That's the engine that drives everything. And without revenue, you can't afford any other employee. Think about it. And the market's changed. I mean, except for one client, and I talk to a lot of my clients all the time, except for one, most have told me behind closed doors that their household good revenue is down as much as 30%. And like last year, the busy season in their books never happened. So a lot of them are just either breaking even, or living off of retained earnings. And
I do got to ask you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but on that, other the owners that you're talking to, because again, I talk to hundreds of business owners, I want to say weekly, but about bi-weekly, I would say. I'm having conversations with these folks, and it's kind of a common theme, for 2023. The ones that actually had a pretty decent year or kind of were flat were very well diversified, right? The ones that really tanked and were letting off people, selling trucks and going, what in God's name am I going to do? We're really kind of stuck just in the household game. So kind of would love to hear your take on diversification and the role you feel like it plays with kind of generating additional revenue, especially if we start getting in kind of these peaks and valleys, whether it be a COVID piece or just a really off year.
well, first of all, let me be transparent. Oh, we like all these big words, transparent. I'm prejudiced. I'm biased. I want everybody to diversify into local office moving and contact me because I'm on a fixed income. I need the money. You can help a poor old man survive. Now, that BS aside, if I were looking at the market today, the ones that are successful have diversified into more than just moving. What do I mean by that? Well, if I were a household good mover, a residential mover, to differentiate myself in the marketplace, I would try to partner with other service providers that would have the same client as I. And I would do it on two different platforms. One would be, hey, listen, if I pull you into deals, will you try to pull me into deals? Now, what am I talking about here? Well, if I had in the past several rental homes in Atlanta, which I had to prepare for sale. And I went through hell hiring painters and contractors and carpet layers and maid services. I mean, because I was playing Russian roulette. I mean, Angie's List and Yelp, they're not really the best referrals if you really check them out. So I was baptized really by just the worst experience you can imagine until I finally found really good service providers, plumbers, electricians, painters, carpet cleaners, maids, cleaning services. And I thought to myself, boy, if I had a moving company today, I'll bet you I could say to the prospect who got a residential household good estimate from me, if you work with me, I'll work with you. And here's how I would like to give back to you in addition to your becoming my client. In addition to giving you a great moving service, you're going to need to fix up your house and make it have curb appeal before you sell it. You're probably going to want to do something with the landscaping out front. I'm not criticizing your landscaping, but I'm just saying you want curb appeal. You want to get rid of all that dead shrubbery you have out front. You want to maybe
Trim
put
those
some new
bushes.
sod down. You might want to pull some weeds. You might want, we don't offer that service, but we have vetted on your behalf some service providers that are companies that can come in here and make your house look just sparkling from the curb. I don't know if you've already hired a painter, but I noticed you've got some major holes in your walls. I'm not criticizing the walls. You know, I guess at
Talking
one
about my
time,
paint, Ed?
yeah, the one
On my
time you
walls, I
had,
know
yeah,
that.
at one time you had, you know, probably a TV hanging on that wall. I noticed you still have a 4 foot by 4 foot hole in the wall. All those things aside, your house looks great. But if you needed a painter, somebody to patch the sheetrock, somebody to paint, we work with painters. We are not a painting company. My employees don't paint, but we could bring somebody into the deal that would help you out. I noticed that you're going to probably want to either put down new carpet. No, I love your carpet. It's great, but you're probably going to want to replace the carpet or in the minimum have it clean. We work with companies that install carpet to make your house look pristine, clean, look great. And if you like, we can wrap and roll all those services into our invoice. So you're not dealing with 5 or 6 different service providers and invoices. We can kind of like be the architect on a building. You know, we're going to make sure they do the right thing, and then we'll take their bill, run it through our invoice, give you one invoice. We'll be like a general contractor
Yes.
working on your behalf. How does that sound? Would you like me to do that? And of course, now let's turn off the camera, turn off the microphone. The reason we want to run their invoice through us is if I'm going to act as a general contractor, I'm going to mark this service invoice up by 25%. So now it becomes a revenue stream for me. So I'm benefiting 2 ways. I'm benefiting by saying to these partners that I'm pulling into my deal, look, I believe in 2-way relationships. I'm going to pull you into deals, but I expect you in return, when you're bidding on a painting job, you can ask them, do they have a mover? When you're bidding on putting down new carpet, I want you to ask them, have you chosen a mover yet? When you're doing landscaping for a house, you're going to ask them, have you retained the services for a moving company yet? And I expect you to pull me into your deals. So that's wonderful. I think that's kind of like networking, maybe. And then
I love it.
I'm going to mark their service up, and I'm going to vet these people. I'm going to say to them, if I pull you into a deal and I'm going to be personally responsible for your performance and behavior, I expect you to do great work. And you know what I would do from a legal point of view is make sure they're legitimate companies that have incorporated, you know, that have the tax ID, that have workers' comp, that have general liability, and that we're named and listed on their certificate of insurance, all those good details. That's what I would do if I'm a residential mover. And if I'm an office mover, which I was, I would pull all these other related services into my prospects environment by saying, look, I don't know if you checked your lease, but a lot of leases today say that before you vacate the space and turn it over back to us, the landlord, you have to patch all the holes in the walls. You had paintings, you had built-in television sets hung on the walls, you had whiteboards, white marking boards. All those holes have to be patched. You don't have to paint the walls on the inside, but we want you to patch and seal all the holes you put in our walls. You got all these Ethernet cables running through the drop ceiling tiles above us. You're going to have to remove all that. We can't leave that up there every time a tenant leaves, or we'll have a fire hazard. So you're going to get all that cable pulled. So I'm thinking to myself, if I'm an office mover today and I want a diversified revenue stream, and office moving and household good moving are not what they used to be, I'm going to see if I can pull other partners in. I'm not saying to the client that we do this. We don't do it. We have experts to do it, but we vetted these companies. And again, I'm going to, now vacuuming the space. JK Moving Services, my poster child for doing it right. They have adopted and implemented everything I preach and teach. Thank you, JK. Thank you, Chuck Kuhn. Thank you, Nick Blues. Thank you, David Cox. Thank you. Bless you. But they really have. And they offer all these services. And I saw something I never saw before when I was in their warehouse last December, teaching them my 3-day in-person office moving seminar for the 11th time. I said, what is that what are these? You got about 10 of these, 12 of these. What are these? We call them magnetic brooms. What's a magnetic broom? Not only do they vacuum up the carpets after an office move at the old location, but they also have these, they look like giant squeegees, but they have big magnets in them. And they roll them all over the floors with, like a broom handle.
Yeah.
Picks up staples and paper clips that have embedded themselves in the carpet. So not only does JK vacuum up the space on their way
Wow.
out the door, but they even have a special device for removing staples that are, stuck to the carpet and paper clips that have fallen. I mean, you charge for all this, and the customer is delighted because if you don't do it, they're going to have to pay someone else to do it that they don't know, Russian roulette, or they're going to have their own employees do it. So it's a win-win for everybody. And then you
That's,
run these
that's
services,
amazing.
your bill,
I mean,
and you mark it up.
if you think, on a lot of these office moves, commercial moves, even household moves, right? You have typically many moving companies or office commercial company or commercial office moving companies coming in. Talk about a great way to differentiate yourself from the previous mover. So you kind of dove into something I was going to try to get into, but I was also big in kind of the differentiation, I can't even speak. It is late in the week here. How do you say that?
Here's what you do. Watch this. Watch. Differentiation. That's all you do.
Yes. So I at the customer's home when they're talking, oh, I got to get painting or I need landscaping. I had these guys, a lot of my really good friends of mine that I had relationships with. We grew up together. I knew their service was impeccable. So just to see that, and again, I didn't tie that into, it was a great point. I didn't actually tie in their services to my actual quotation, sort of say, but just my ability to take my cell phone and bump their phone and give them a legitimate contact. But in the meantime, as soon as I left that house, you better believe I called my buddy and said, hey, just want to give you a heads up. I just left Ed Katz's house. He's got more holes in his walls. He needs patching. He's probably going to call you. He's throwing wine bottles all over. He's getting old over there. So, when the customer actually called my buddy already had the heads up. So it was like this natural transition and just even more of, wow, Ryan really did this and they really did that. But back to JK's piece, how many people are out there? Because I've never heard of that. Have these magnetic things. I know when the roofers came
I've never seen it. I've never seen it until now. I mean, leave it to Chuck Kuhn and David Cox and Nick Cluse and that John Tice.
They're
These
crushing
people, they are so, Mike Murphy, they're so ahead of the curve. They are just, you know why? They keep asking their clients and their prospects, in addition to moving, what other service do you need? In addition to a competitive price, what else can we do for you? And
Yep.
that's how I came up with my inventions, for the boxless move, where we move the contents in the furniture instead of the contents in the furniture to differentiate myself. I really listened to the client and I said, in addition to a competitive price, everybody wants, low price, competitive price. What else can we do for you? And they said, they always said the same thing. We're only moving 6 miles down the road. Why they pick 6 and not 7 or 5, whatever. But anyhow, we're only moving 6 miles down the road, or I'm just moving from one floor to the other. Do we have to empty our desks? And all the movers, I listened. And I asked myself, maybe they're sending me a signal here. And we invented, I don't know if you're familiar with my space gobblers, where we had miniature water beds. A company made water beds made what looked like the size of a pillowcase. And they were made out of the same material water beds were made out of, but instead of filling them with water, we filled them with air. Look at it. You're so young, you don't know about space gobblers. So
no, I was you were going to fill it with wine or something.
We said, you don't have to empty your desk. You can work right up until 5 o'clock till we arrive to do the move, and leave your desk drawers unlocked, leave them full. You don't shut down the day before, packing everything at the crates or boxes. And we're going to take these space gobblers. They gobble up the space inside the desk drawers, and we would fold them to the size of the drawer. So you open the drawer, you place this bladder on top of the contents, you close it except for a valve about the size of my finger sticking out. And we used what was like a commercial hair dryer that had a tapered snorkel nose fitting. And it would fit over the valve, turn on the air, not like a tire pressure, but just blowing up, high volume, no pressure. So when the bag got full, we closed the valve, closed the drawer. So when we flipped the desk, up on its side to get it through a doorway or onto an elevator. Nothing moved around, nothing fell out. And these are reusable. They lasted forever. And they love that. And then lateral file cabinets, the movers would say, empty your top 3 or 4 drawers. And then they would tip them and rack and torque and bend them so that every time you close one drawer, another drawer would open, or you go to open the drawer and it sticks and you can't fix them. They have no frame. I invented this device called a spider crane. And it had 2 giant suction cups that we lowered over the top of the cabinet. We turned on a vacuum pump inside this control panel. It sucked the air out from underneath the vacuum cups. Like when we were kids with you didn't have this and you would offended something. We had dart guns, but not with pointed darts, but with suction cups, and you would shoot them at your brother, your older brother.
Yeah, we call those Nerf guns nowadays.
Okay, well, anyhow, so we had like these 2 giant suction cups that came down over the top of the cabinet. You turn on the vacuum pump, it creates a vacuum. It looked like an engine hoist, and it would slowly lift the cabinet perfectly level off the floor without bending it, torquing it, or racking it. Place it on a low gravity steel dolly, use a logistics strap, fasten it to the steel dolly, move it loaded right side up. I can't tell you how many more moves we got because we offered the boxless move. We virtually eliminated most of the non-productive time clients would spend before and after a move packing and unpacking.
Yep.
So they loved it. And we guaranteed no mixed up or lost files. And we didn't kill trees to fill and overflow landfills because we eliminated most of the packing material.
Yeah, so we didn't have the spider cranes, but I will tell you what an advantage I did have, and this might go against what your grain or what have is when I did do a lot of these commercial walkthroughs, and I'd have another company beside me, and oh yeah, just leave everything inside those laterals, leave it right in there. We'll go ahead and get it up there, and I would just sit there and say, hey, you moved these before, right? And oh yeah, because you can see them on their sides, tilted, drawers open, or you go over to the other filing cabinets and you could see where the locks in the top right have been drilled out, were missing, or you'd actually see the ones where they basically took a bunch of tape, because they didn't have the keys anymore. Once those things get pressed in, you got to drill them out. So I actually use that to my advantage on the selling side of when I had a guy to the left of me, like, oh, you don't need boxes. We'll just move that whole thing. And I would come in there and kind of do my pitch as to, hey, no, we'll provide the boxes at a particular rate or what have you, because this is what we want to do. We want to prevent the damage. This thing probably, if it gets moved again with 5 lateral drawers filled with files, it's probably just going to go kapooey, right? So is it more important spending a couple $100 more for the move on a couple boxes? Or is it more important you to have all these files spill out through the elevator that are really, really confidential in the lobby of a main floor stay of a particular building or so? So I wish I did have those spider cranes because, man, I tell you, at the one university we did a lot of work at, it was just filing cabinets after filing cabinets, and it was tough. It was definitely.
How about this guarantee? And this is what I preach and teach to this day. So I stopped selling spider cranes in 2005. But I sold probably 50 or 60 over my career in the moving industry. So today, when IOMI trained and certified movers like yourself bid on a job, the safest way to move it without a spider crane is to totally empty all the drawers. But the industry is controlled and dominated by a lot of lap dogs, a bunch of salespeople that, yeah, we can do it, no big deal. We can move them. We never have a problem. Yeah, you don't have the problem. You're not there opening the drawer.
Your crew has the problem
to the move. Yeah. And you already said it was already like that, right? But anyhow, that aside, so here's what we would say. We know if you check with the manufacturer, the safest way of moving this cabinet is to totally empty all the drawers. Now, our competition is telling you just empty the top 2 or 3 drawers, correct? Yeah, no big deal. They never have a problem. Fine. We're going to give you a written guarantee that if we move your lateral file cabinet totally empty, as you follow our instructions, empty all the drawers, we're going to move it totally empty. If we cause any rack, torque, or bending damage whatsoever, we're not going to fix the cabinet. How does that sound to you? We guarantee you that if we cause any damage as a result of moving it totally empty, we're not going to fix it. And they look at me, are you crazy? What do you mean you're not going to fix it? You know why? You can't fix it if it causes any rack or torque
Nothing you
damage.
can do about it.
And we
Nothing you
know
can
we have no risk. If we move it empty, it's impossible for us to do it. Let's say you get the same written guarantee from our competition. So here we're saying, we're going to give you in writing that if we move it empty and we cause any rack or torque damage, we're not going to limit our liability to 60 cents per pound per article. We're not going to fix it, because if you rack it, you can't fix it. We're going to buy a brand new one. No questions asked. Let's see you get the same guarantee from the competition, who are saying, no big deal, we move them all the time, just empty the top 2 or 3 drawers. Now in America, nobody listens. They don't listen. So they call up the competition. They say, Ed Katz with XYZ Moving Company told us that if he damages our lateral file cabinets, he's not going to fix them. He's going to buy us brand new ones. Will you give us the same written guarantee? That's not what I said. It was a limited guarantee, a limited warranty. It said if we cause any rack or torque damage as a result of moving it empty, but they don't listen. It doesn't matter.
No.
So no general manager, no owner, no branch manager is going to say, yeah, we'll give you the same guarantee. They'd be crazy if they did.
Absolutely.
But it destroys the credibility of the movers to say, yeah, no big deal. We move them all the time that way, right? And it's true.
Well, they're probably the ones that moved it previously, why it's all torqued.
Yeah.
And
Now,
I always love.
if we give that written guarantee and we scratch it, put a hole in it, or dent it, that's not covered by that warranty. I was very specific. If we cause any rack, torque, or bending damage as a result of moving it totally empty, and we have limited warranties on everything all the time. I have a brand new battery operated lawnmower with the 2-year warranty. If I put it in the bathtub and fill it with water and it doesn't work, it's not covered by the warranty. I mean, give me a break.
You went with a battery operated lawnmower.
Oh,
My neighbor has one, and what I don't like about it, it cuts the grass nice, but I feel like if you're outside, it just looks like he's pushing the lawnmower because there's virtually zero noise. So I'm like, is that thing even on, Matt? Like, turn that thing on. Of course, you got mine. I go ahead and I actually pulled it last week was the first mow. That thing was puffing smoke, and oh, I love the smell. Like, here we go. We got lawn mowing season here again. But
well, just so you know, I got tired of spending over $200 a year for oil change, tune up, spark plug, air filter, because I don't, I have 9 patents on all my inventions. I can't thread a nut onto a bolt without stripping the bolt. There's no way in hell I'm changing the oil or air filters. I don't know where, I can't find the hood to open to look even for the engine, I mean, so that's why I got battery operated. It's maintenance free. There is no maintenance. I mean, zilch. I mean, you can't beat it.
that sounds pretty incredible. But I'm going to switch gears a little bit here. I'm going to get away from lawnmowers and hybrid lawnmowers and what have you. But again, speaking of change, differentiate. I'm not even going to say the word. It's
Differentiating.
Differentiating. So change dynamics. What's this I'm hearing about IOMI? That's upcoming in the pipeline for you. What's on the horizon with IOMI? What's this?
Oh, you read my teaser on LinkedIn. I was going to hold that back.
Can you let it out here, or do we got to wait until it's Ed Katz official?
Well, since nobody watches this podcast, I don't mind. I don't mind telling you, Ryan, because you and I will be the only ones that know. So I have a lot of clients, especially in, let's say, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Florida, and actually in Louisiana, who've said, hey, we have, 10 million people applying for jobs as mover helpers, but they don't speak English. And a lot of them speak Spanish. Can you do anything with the mover helper courses? And if you recall, we have different courses for different job classifications. The actual videos, the actual training on the online training is about a little over 2 hours for just mover helpers. So we spent nearly a year having a wonderful translator, and I will tell you her name. Her name is Isabel Garcia Schmidt. I met her at the IAM annual conference in Toronto. Wonderful lady. In fact, I'm going to do a little promotion of her on LinkedIn. She's that great. She spent all this time translating the mover helper modules and courses into Spanish. And I don't know anything about language. I have enough trouble with English. I found out from her before I hired her. There's this thing called dialect. like I'm in Mississippi and I don't understand half of what they say here because I'm a damn Yankee. You know, they speak their own King's version of the King's English. But anyhow, that aside, she said there's Mexican Spanish, there's Central American Spanish, there's Argentina Spanish, there's Spanish from Spain. So
Hey,
she sanitized it and did something. First, she had to write everything, you know, she had to write it, you know, everything I said on the online training had to be translated first in script. So she wrote it all out, then she did the voiceover. So God willing, the next few weeks, we're going to roll this out at no additional charge. So like if I'm a moving company client of Ed Katz's for IOMI, and I have new employees that are not bilingual, they only speak Spanish, but they're hardworking and they show up for work and they're not on drugs and alcohol and all the things we're looking for. They'll be able to get the same training to learn how to minimize the risk of workers' comp claims, injury on the job, learn how to minimize the risk of damage to furniture and computers and copiers, and learn how to minimize the risk of damage to real property, floors, walls, doors, and elevators. They're going to learn all that before they go out. And hopefully the supervisor's bilingual, hopefully, but a lot of
hey,
times
we're back to that diversification piece now. So you can get IOMI in both Yankee, as you say, and you can also you can get it in Espanol. Hopefully I said that right. I can't speak English today, but my Spanish is coming off pretty damn good.
there you go. I'm very impressed.
But I do have I got some hot seat questions for you, Ed, and I don't know if you've ever been a part of hot seat questions, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. You can't not answer, and we're gonna have fun. Try to keep the answers a little bit short. Hopefully that wine, or actually I'm gonna call it cranberry juice because we're both working today, and I still haven't taken a sip of my wine yet. I'm gonna wait till the end. I don't want to get fired for drinking in the daytime here, but so you ready for the first question? Then we're gonna go ahead.
Yes, here we go. Thanks a lot. And I hate game shows. I'm just telling you right now. Thanks a lot, Ryan.
Like you said, no one's going to watch this episode anyway.
Yeah,
right?
you're right.
All right. So, what's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Well, I've been married for 48 years. What do you think of that?
It's pretty impressive. It's
very impressive. To
40 plus years more than I have.
5 different women.
Hey, that's a streak. Do we call that a streak, a trend, or what do you call that?
I would say I'm really good at business, but my personal choices in life leave a little to be decided. So my wife, who's my wife of 12 years now, wonderful lady. Every time I come home from the gym, so long as my suitcase is not packed outside the door, I know I still have a house to come home to. And she says to me, she's a really squeaky clean, straight as an arrow, good Christian woman. She really is.
I met her in New York.
Yeah, I met her in New York, right?
That's what I said. How the hell did these two get together? You got one that's in the street, and then we have
I was 500 miles west of here, east of here, in Cartersville, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, and she's in Mississippi, and we connected on social media, whatever you call those dating sites. You know, my age, you can't waste time. So ever since we met, we've been together, and we got married, of course, too. I got tired of driving 500 miles home every day, so we got married.
Did you find her on moversonly.com? Was that
moversonly.com? You're right. you knew that before you asked that question, didn't you? You knew that.
I did. Well, I wasn't expecting that I wasn't surprised to know that about you, but now everybody else that
well, now that they know that, I'm sure the two people who were watching this, when I said I was married 5 times, they were both women. They just hung up. I see they got disconnected now. I meant well. What do I know?
Hey, it's trial and error at this point, right? I think you finally. I guess we're going to move on to the second question at this. This one's getting a little deep here, but what did you want to be when you were a kid, and why? And don't tell me it was a moving magnet, because I know nobody grows up and says, "I want to go ahead and be a moving magnet." But what was something you said, "Man, when I grow up, I want to be."
Well, I'm not mechanically inclined, so I knew it had nothing to do with physical labor. That I can tell you. Now, I did love being a counselor at its overnight camp. I just loved it. I just loved having kids. I had different ages of kids over the years. But when I was in college, I really had this passion to save the world and fight poverty. So I went to the Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. And I learned how to be a bureaucrat. we were going to fight poverty and fight urban blight and all that crap. So I got a job working for the state of Connecticut. And I'll be honest with you, I was too young to retire. I mean, I had guys in my office. I don't mind saying this now. I don't want to give a shit. Anyhow, I had the guy sitting across from me at another desk. He was the former mayor of New Haven. You know what he did every day? He read the newspaper. Another guy was doing crossword puzzles. We blew through $40 million worth of taxpayer money a year doing nothing. I mean, we did. So you want to know something else embarrassing? I told you about my personal life. I should be in prison right now. I should be in jail.
Well, I might have to put you on mute here, Ed. I'm not sure how this look. You might make my actually. You might
I should be a former felon. So you ready for this? I am the doormat. I am the entry-level new bureaucrat at this big state agency in Hartford, Connecticut. Okay, $40 million budget. So there's 16 bureaucrats above me. So I talk one of the small towns in northwestern Connecticut into applying for our grant. You got this? Now, I don't know if you know anything about the government in Connecticut. It's called the town meeting form of government. You don't have a mayor or a city manager make decisions. Everything is a referendum. So here I am, a punk kid out of graduate school, don't know what the hell I'm doing. I have to speak before this town meeting where there's like 200 people crammed into this city hall. And I have to tell them why they should apply for the grant to get free money from the government to do a feasibility study to find out how to fight poverty. You got all that? Yeah. So they buy it, and they fill out this application, and I submit it, and I rubber stamp it because I proved it. I'm the one that helped them put the application together. Of course, it's perfect. So 3 months later, my department head calls me in his office, and he says, "This is moving along quite quickly, very well." 3 months later, I mean, anyhow, he said, "But we changed one of the requirements. We need another resolution." You're paying attention here, Brian. We need another resolution from the city. You got to get this additional resolution passed, and then this is going to sail right into the sunset. So I call up the manager and I say, "Hey, Rex," I said, "we got a little situation here." He said, "Ed, you got to help me out." I said, "Why?" He said, "You don't know this, but when we took a vote, it barely passed. And now this is 3 months later. I don't think I can even call them together for another town meeting and get a majority of the people to show up and to vote on it. Can't you help me out?" Well, look at me. I'm a facilitator, right? So what do? I got like 20 signed documents from the mayor of this city. How hard was it for me to copy his signature and force it on another resolution?
Holy shit.
I know. I am at the end of my life. And we're going to do put an 80-year-old man in prison here. So anyhow, I signed his name. Hey, wait a second.
That alone, Ed,
I am. So anyhow, I signed his name. 5 months later, nothing. A year later, nothing. They gave all the money to 3 cities: Hartford, New Haven, and Waterbury. You think these few voters in this northwestern Barney Fife town is going to mean anything to these politicians? They never would have gotten the money anyhow. But I tried. I did learn to be a facilitator. I really did. So now,
to be a good forger.
If you see police breaking in my door, now you'll know why.
I don't see him there. Man, I'm really nervous to ask you this last question. Yeah, I'm going to wait till you gobble down that. You know what? I think I'm going to take my first. I have to. I'm nervous about this question. My gosh, you've opened up on the first 2, but this is the last one, and I got to cut you off here. So think about this one now. What's the weirdest gift that you've ever received?
I don't think I've ever gotten a gift, to be honest with you. I have no friends. I get invited to somebody's house one time. So I take some of the silverware home with me because I have an eclectic collection of silverware. And since I know people are not going to give me a gift, I may take a couple coffee cups, some glasses, a few saucers, some dishes, and silverware. So my only gifts were self-made. Let me try to think. Gifts. I can't remember ever getting a gift. Now, my birthday, everyone, is December 14th. If any of you feel sorry for me.
Like I said, you just gave me the greatest gift. You gave me two takeaways today. One, I'm keeping you away from my wife.
I
And
just
two,
can't say no. That's my problem. I can't say no. I mean,
and the
well,
second thing is I'm never inviting you over to my house because you'll end up taking my spoons, my coffee cups. And I do have some nice wine glasses. I know you'll probably be raiding that closet like crazy, but
oh God.
no, I mean honestly, I haven't laughed this much and had so much fun on not even just a podcast, but
Well, do me a favor.
meeting
This is
people.
just a warm up. This is just a warm up. You're going to tell me when you start recording because I would never say any of this crap to anybody because I'd be in big trouble, right?
Well, hey, the nice thing is we only have two listeners right now, so I think we're going to be just fine with that. And but yeah, you never know. This could be the clip that makes us both go viral, right?
Viral,
Hope not.
like virus.
Yeah, we're gonna both catching some sort of viral thing here. But
And can I tell you before we sign off here, in a way I don't want it to end because my wife who overheard, she's in the other room, overheard, now you have to understand, very high voice, Southern lady, real Southern lady, really sophisticated, sedate, conservative, and then you got me, right? She's gonna say, in her voice, why do you have to tell everybody about how many times you've been married? Why do you do that? You embarrass me with my friends. When I run into her at the gym I go to every day, I'm not allowed to hug her, I'm not allowed to kiss her. She doesn't want anybody to know she knows me. I don't know why. I have honorable intentions.
hey, I'm gonna plead the fifth on a lot of things that I'd like to say right now. I'm just gonna hold back. We're gonna put it on pause. And no, but Ed, in all seriousness, no, like obviously you've been a mentor to me throughout my career here, and especially with my transition from moving side over to the tech side. And appreciate everything you do for everybody in this industry. And when I say a legend, I mean a legend. And everybody that I talk to has the same damn thing. They say the same wonderful things about you, and something to be super proud of, man. You've done a great job of this. Come on, I can't even speak, and I only had one little sip. I promise, one sip, but you've done a wonderful job. And again, I appreciate you taking the time, not only to jump on this podcast here, but many times that we connect on cell phones and text and emails and all those things. So greatly appreciate you jumping on. And I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to Humans of Moving, even though there's probably only a few of you, according to Ed. But we'd love to have you on our show. And if you're a mover, a shaker, or you're passionate about the industry, as Ed and I are, please email us. We'd love to have you on the show. And that will be info@supermove.com. Thank you, Ed, and we'll be chatting with you soon.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Honestly, a pleasure and an honor. If anybody wants any marital advice, Ryan will tell you how to reach me.
Yeah, I would say stick to wine at that point, folks.